Hi everyone, welcome to our app presentation. This is Pocket Pantry and we are Team 7. We have me, Megan Roberts, John Cornea, Josiah Howe, and Dennis Chaco. Here on our main screen, as you can see, we have a button called Pantry. When clicked, it will take you to your pantry view that has all of your items already added into your pantry. You can scroll down and see the other ones. Back up. This is a recycler view. It displays each item that's been added to the pantry. A recycler view was chosen because of its efficiency. It'll only create the number of items seen on the screen. As you can see, there's about 5. But even if you have a list of 20 or 50, it'll only show those. And as you scroll up, it's, as they say, kind of recycled to become the ones at the bottom, kind of visually appealing in that way. This saves space and energy on your app. It doesn't have a bunch of items created that aren't on the screen slowing things down. This view also allows us to further develop the app. We'll be able to click on it and it will pop up with an editing feature and a delete feature. The items listed here are written to our database and will be there when you close the app and then reopen. So you can see here, it's closed and then run again. All of it is there. As you can see, there's 2 buttons, one to take you back to the pantry and one that will take you on to add another pantry item. Josiah, if you want to explain our pantry add view.
Yeah. So when you click on the Add Pantry Item button from the main screen, it takes you to this page here where you have 3 sections. You have a drop-down menu, a quantity, and a weight section. So the drop-down menu is a spinner. We chose a spinner because it was really nice and easy, collapsible, easy for the user to access and select an item from a pre-made list. After selecting an item from the drop-down spinner, you can enter a quantity there, how many things you have of that type of item, and in the next section there, a weight for the item. And then once those things are input, if you click the Add Pantry Item, a toast will appear telling you the item has been added to the pantry or that an error has occurred if something has gone wrong. And then when you return to the pantry, you can see, if you scroll down, there at the bottom is your new item that you just added with the quantity and the weight, and it is now saved in the database. And I think on to John is going to talk a little bit.
It's I think it's actually me.
This is you, Dennis?
Yeah, I'll just add something real quick. So as you guys can see, one of the basic requirements for app, in other words, is just to be able to allow the user to input items in their pantry, which then are going to be stored in a list that will be easy to access and modify to a certain extent. Another thing we wanted to do was to let the user perform CRUD operations, which just means create, read, update, and delete. And I'd say we were pretty successful in this part. The app does allow the user to input an item of their choice through a drop-down list, as you guys saw. At first, the idea was to get several APIs from so that we could add more items to the pantry. But then we just ended up using some of the most common ingredients that might be needed by the user due to difficulties in finding food APIs. So in other words, what our app is able to do right now, it has the functionality of adding items to the list along with quantity as well as weight. Another thing we wanted to do was to create a recipe view and basically a functionality that would allow the user to add recipes to a recipe book using an API. In addition to that, the app was also supposed to tell the user what recipes they could make based on the ingredients they had, as well as select a specific recipe and let the user know what ingredients were missing to help them be more prepared with the shopping list. Is there anything you'd like to add, John, to that?
Yeah, just that we ended up using a resource file instead of those APIs to populate the spinner element there when in the pantry ad view. So that was where we were planning on using API just to prevent any kind of potential confusion based off of like different brand names. We wanted to control the name of the ingredient being saved to the database just so that it would make it easy to use with our recipe like Dennis was explaining. So if someone wanted to see what recipes they could make based off what they have in their pantry, our app would easily be able to read the database and see what items were already in the pantry. And did you have anything else, Dennis?
Oh, I think that's it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to briefly touch on sort of so Dennis already talked about how we were planning on using some APIs, and also for the database we were planning on using shared preferences to store the data, and we ended up deciding to use SQLite to save our data just because shared preferences didn't have all the features that we wanted exactly. Also, the APIs didn't really exactly match up. So we already talked about using the resource file instead of an API. SQLite required quite a bit of research. So we ended up dividing up into front end and back end teams to facilitate that, with Josiah and Megan on the front end and me and Dennis on the back end. And we took a little bit of time to get going just because we had to learn how to use Git and GitHub to collaborate and share code. And then, of course, doing research for SQLite. And yeah, but we're pretty happy with where we got to on the app, and there's lots of potential moving forward for it. So we implemented it using model view presenter architecture, and I feel like the code is really clean and well documented, so it'll be easy to add anything to it moving forward. And that's my part. Megan, did you want to talk about Recycler View or anything like that?
We've covered Recycler View, but we can talk about our use here. We chose to keep it very basic at first because we were working with the database structure that we had and trying to figure that out use. But we've structured this in a way that we can add to it and develop more now that we have the basics down. Our hope with the spinner here is that we'll be able to add another one for categories. So you can choose something like dairy or meat and be able to add other pantry items. And then the second drop down will show all those dairy items that you've chosen. The quantity, and then hopefully to have weight prompt you for what you're inputting, such as like ounces or pounds. And we think that that would be useful with another drop down as well, just to be able to choose that. And that's our hope going forward with the app.